What is up, everybody, and welcome to the first ever No Maiden Podcast. I am your host, Willie Youngstrand, joined with our fellow Maidenless League member and co-host, Spencer Himes. Spencer, what is going on, my friend?
How do you do, Youngs? What's
Yeah.
up, dude? Excited to do this. Excited to be here, man.
Yeah. I know we've been talking about just our obsession for fantasy football for a while, so we figured we'd just kind of start yapping on a podcast, and hopefully we get 3 members, and it's not my mom, dad, and sister. So, pretty excited here.
Hell yeah, dude.
So figured, basically we could just kind of jump right in. Honestly, I mean, we kind of have a rough agenda we're trying to follow. We're going to just keep sipping on bevs, and hopefully the conversation flows a little bit easier. So, kind of what this podcast is all about is just recapping our fantasy football league. That's going into our second year now for Maidenless. So I'm not sure, Spencer, I mean, if you want to kind of talk about how long you've been playing fantasy football. I mean, I think you're in like 15 different leagues. So, I mean, you have every roster combination possible, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm starting into a habit where I'm starting to trade people now because I own them so much, which is probably very unhealthy. And if you ask Kelly, it is extremely unhealthy.
Sure.
But, I mean, I started playing when I was super young, teenager probably. But Dynasty, I joined my first league about probably 5-6 years ago. Holy shit, my cat just ran across the floor. Joined my first one probably like 6 years ago, and I've just joined more and more ever since. And I feel like I've gotten other people involved as well. So it's pretty fun. Yeah. It's kind of how our league got made, full circle.
Yeah, exactly. I know, for context, I met Spencer basically through one of our Dynasty leagues as well. So through just like, I think it was through our buddy Will, Nessa, and Ryan Christopherson.
Will Ness.
Yeah. We were all just kind of talking about just starting a fantasy Dynasty league, because we've always do like the redraft leagues each year, and
standard ones, which now seems so old school for some reason. Which it's
now I think about doing a redraft, and it makes me like just want to draft rookies in like the second round when I should be drafting like all the top dogs that are like 30 years old.
Somebody asked me last year, they're like, "You want to do a redraft?" I was like, "Oh, I'm only doing one this year." They're like, what?
Exactly
oh my god! I was like, "This is not how it should be," but here we are.
Yeah. So bring me to maybe how because you were basically the commissioner of Maidenless. So how did you kind of start Maidenless? I think you had leagues that failed, or kind of how did Maidenless come to be?
Yeah. So I joined my first one probably 3 years before I made Maidenless. I liked it a lot. I made a lot of bad decisions, a lot of good decisions. It was a lot of our first Dynasty leagues too, which was pretty fun because we all made mistakes together. But from drafting CMC, this was the year before he got injured for the whole season, as well as Calvin Ridley with my second pick, who decided to sit out and then gambled away the season next year. So got screwed with a couple of picks, but definitely a learning moment, and it got me hooked and engaged, and what is now an obsession. Passionate. That's what we're going to call it.
So did you have a league essentially that maybe it sounded like you had something going on, where it was a league that was already created and then it kind of collapsed and then you started Maidenless, or how did that league start?
Yeah, it started because I didn't but I didn't really agree with a lot of the trades that I was being sent.
Sure.
And I wanted to join even more because I was like, I don't want to do just this one where I only know like 4 people in it. And then so the next year I got 2 leagues made up, one with my friends and then one with some college friends as well. And then the year after that is when I reached out to you for our one that we started 2 years ago, which is still going strong, by the way.
Yeah. Lukewarm strong. That was for pretty much half the league. So I do that one QB league with obviously Spencer's in it, Will Ness is in it, Shifty's in it. Let's see, who else from our league is in it? Is there anyone I'm missing? I know I'm in it. That's basically it. So it's kind of funny to think about how Maidenless has come to be, because that Dynasty league that we do is just a 1 QB. And then we were always talking about, you watch any YouTube videos, you watch mock drafts, you watch, rookie rankings. It's all super flex rankings. And I think that adds a really interesting wrinkle into kind of how you strategize and trade, and just how positions matter differently in Superflex. So I know,
it changes the whole outcome of the draft.
Yeah. So we were
22-year-old QB. It's like you're going to give up a lot for him in a Superflex league, but in one QB league, nobody cares about quarterbacks.
Yeah, you hit on CJ Stroud, you're sitting pretty. Cough, cough.
Or if you
Carl.
miss on Bryce Young.
Yeah, hate to be that guy. But so basically that kind of led us wanting to play Superflex, at least half of us in the league. And then one of our buddies, Chuck Poppy Wheels, his name is actually Carl. He was super big into fantasy football when we were in college, probably like 2 or 3 years ago. But then he just took a fat break. And then you kind of just started hitting up our 1QB chat and was just like, yo, who's trying to play a Superflex league? And then, we all just started texting. We're like, yo, Carl, you got to come like out of retirement and join this. Shifty joined it. Our buddy Ben joined it. So that's kind of how we have, actually Nessa joined it too as well. So that's probably of like 4 or 5 members of the league there too. So how do you know the other half of the league, let's say? Is it all kind of college buddies or is it hometown buddies?
Yeah, a lot of them are college buddies.
Okay.
I mean, Jacob Kramer and Zach Loring Bortz went to high school with, obviously, my twin brother and I. But yeah, no, we all went to Iowa State, and then I moved up to Minnesota, and I met Will Nessa. He let me drunk drive his jet ski the first time I met him.
Sounds on brand.
Yeah, and so I started a league with him because I was like, hey, I think Will would probably join this league. He enjoys it somewhat, and he was all for it. And then that's when I met all of you guys, and I was like, yo, we should combine 2 dynasty leagues where I know everybody and other people can meet each other, and let's do a Superflex league that will last for hopefully many years.
Yeah, I know it's been kind of a whirlwind to now think about it going into our second season now. It definitely takes up a lot more free space in my mind than I would like to admit. It seems like some days when the sleeper chat's buzzing, I'm definitely on my phone more than I am on my actual work laptop too. So
yeah, all it takes is one graphic, one link.
Oh, I know.
The whole chat talking for like the next 6 hours. I'm like, oh shit, it's 3:00 at work already.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of a natural segue to maybe we kind of talk about when we started the whole draft process. I know there is a lot of controversy and some memes sprouted about Spence Jong-un, where you potentially ended up giving away your commissioner powers and then were recently reinstated. So kind of maybe walk the league through your whole thought process on what the hell was happening. I remember I was driving home from work, funny enough, in like a May day, and I was just kind of super excited to get ready for the draft. And I know we talked about doing a slow draft. And I'm driving home, and then Spencer goes, yo, should we start the draft? Does a poll. I think 3 people vote on it. And then next thing I know, I'm driving home, and I'm seeing Mahomes is gone, Josh Allen is gone, Jalen Hurts is gone. So what kind of happened there, Spencer? People want to know.
The people deserve answers.
They deserve an answer.
So when I was making the league, I wanted to replicate it as one of my other ones, and I did not want Titan Premium. I did not want IDP. I just wanted a standard. I even had out, I don't know if you remember this, but in the original layout, I took out tight ends. And immediately that got denied because everybody loves tight ends for some reason, probably because of the way that they move. Zach Loring. But so after a couple of guns to my head, I was like, okay, but oversighting that, I also looked over a couple of other very intricate but necessary details. And I don't want to be the only one because the whole draft started, my friends were growing impatient. Yeah, they were growing impatient. They were literally up my butt hole for me to start the draft. And I was like, I thought we had a date. And then my opinion changed. I was like, yeah, I kind of want to draft right now. That sounds fun. And then our group chat was going off. The sleeper chat was going off. And I was like, I'm just going to start it right now. It's a slow draft. Hopefully they don't need to take 2 hours to research who they're going to pick at number 4 overall. But you know what? If they do, then it's my fault. And then I was like, oh, this league needs some steady leadership. So I gave Josh Bortz, who is the most median person of them all. He will do as he's told. He will come up with good ideas. I thought he was the right person to take the throne, but I guess the league needed 2 kings at the helm. So I was like, I'll take over that position again.
Very nice. Yeah, I think it's pretty funny now that I look at the draft board. I'll share my screen here and we can talk about some of our, absolute landmines we picked. But I think it's a little funny that the host of the league ends up getting, the 101 pick. What do you have to say for yourself,
I'm
Spencer?
so glad you brought that up because I remember, obviously everyone says it as a joke. Oh, of course you get 101. I remember I said, should I randomize the draft 3 times or should I do it once? And not going to name names, but Logan fucking Heim was like, hey, only do one. And so I said, fine, I'm only going to do one.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting the 101, which I then flipped Mahomes a year later. But
yeah, I still remember where I was. It was basically my 9/11 where the sleeper chat starts buzzing. I was out to brunch, actually, I think I know Shifty was there. I'm not sure if Carl was there or not. I believe, actually, now that I remember, Carl was there. And we start getting, randomize it once, randomize it 3 times. We randomize it once, and fate behold, I get pick 112. And I just walked right out of Pizza Luce. I was so pissed off.
That's
I was
right.
like, if I don't get one of those top QBs, I'm just going to be on an island the rest of the year. But luckily it worked out. I was able to put together a successful year. So maybe while we're here, let's kind of go through some of your top picks that you had. So obviously starting off with the Mahomes-Kelsey stack into Tyreek Hill, and then with one of the most memorable picks of the draft, Jared Goff, which led to a lot of memes. Kind of what was your thought process here? Obviously, you get an anchor QB like Mahomes, then you lead it with Kelsey. Kind of what were you thinking with that kind of whole process?
Well, looking at the draft board right now, I just have to get this out of the way. So pick Treylon Burks in the
7th round.
Yep. 7th round.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
No.
I went Mahomes Kelsey because you kind of have to. I was like, I kind of wanted it. I was like, you know what? If we're going to get Mahomes, I'm going to draft Kelsey. He's 33 years old, but we're going to go for a ring. So I drafted Kelsey. Then I was like, Tyreek Hill, he is older. He did come out publicly say that he was going to retire in 2025. And I was like, all right, give me 3 years of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Number 1 receiver in the league. These next 2 picks, that's where I kind of, oh my God, Miles Sanders, we're going to forget that. But I went Jared Goff because I was looking at the QBs. And you know what's funny is that I almost took Daniel Jones with that pick, which I probably would not be in the league anymore. Just kidding, because I don't quit. But sure. I remember looking at the QBs here. Oh, yeah. Let's see, because after that we got, Kirk. It was between Kirk, Tua, Goff, and that was really it. And I was like, Goff is 27 at the time. He was 27. And I was like, he's safe. Yeah. Lions are pretty good. He played well. He's a very safe bet. And then I picked him. Immediately started getting just
absolutely cooked in the chat.
Seeing this board right now, though.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many things differently. But I will say that.
Yeah.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the 9 players that you see under my name, I still have on my roster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only 2.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive. I know kind of as we pretty much go from the beginning of the draft board to the complete opposite end, I was blessed with the 112. So
I see that.
Kept thinking maybe I'll try and trade up, get one of those elite QBs, but obviously as the draft shook out, wasn't able to get either one of those top QBs or Chase or Jefferson or Lamb. So I remember hoping desperately that Loring would somehow take Bijan or AJ Brown or literally anybody but someone on the Falcons offense because in our 1 QB dynasty league, I was blessed with having Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and Kyle Pitts under the Third Reich terror of Arthur Smith. So I was ready to get burned again, which I did as I painfully watched Bijan for another year under that awful offensive scheme. So basically kind of what I had to do was, if I'm not going to get one of those top, assets at QB, I'll try and punt that and go get one, at a tier down at running back and then end up flipping pretty much my first 3 of my 4 picks to boards, which you can talk about maybe either later today or in a later episode too. But I mean, when
Miles Sanders has negative value right now. Nobody wants him. And I can't believe I took him in the 7th round of a startup, and I took Chuba Hubbard like 5 picks later or something.
Yeah, it's pretty wild how, you get just so fantasized about, I kept looking at Jerry Jeudy's game log from 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, he's going to be so sick. Russell Wilson, whatever.
He's still pretty good.
So it's kind of how the league started. And then as we get to basically the end of the year, how did your season go compared to expectations? Where did you end up placing as the season ended? And then, how are you looking forward for the future? Obviously, there's been a lot of trades you've done. We may have to have a whole hour and a half episode dedicated to just your thought process there. But how did you think your first season did for Maidenless, and how did it go compared to expectations?
I am very glad that you were able to screen share, because looking at that draft now, I would have never guessed that my team, I guess, knowing what I know now, looking at that draft, I would have never guessed that team would have almost made the championship.
Yeah.
But my co-host, Mr. Willie Youngstrand, beat me by less than a goddamn point.
Yeah, single point is what separated us.
Yeah, literally. Less than a single point. I mean, we both would have lost to Logan in the championship anyway, because that's just how the cookie crumbled for Logan this year. But man, I really wanted that twin versus twin first year dynasty, just title match, just me versus Logan. But
do you remember what your record was off the top of your head? I'm trying to remember what mine was, and I think not a humble brag, I think I only lost like 1 or 2 games. I know.
Yeah. I think you and Logan both only lost a couple of games. I think I was scratching to make the playoffs. I know.
Yeah.
I was not a very early seed, but I was not the last. I think I might have been fifth or.
Okay.
Do we have a 6-man playoff?
I believe so. Yeah, I think it was 6-man. First 2 had a bye. Yeah, I had a first round bye.
That's right.
Yeah, considering I drafted at the 12th pick, I was kind of pleasantly surprised with how my league shook out. Normally, I'm always kind of bottom of the barrel, perpetual rebuilder, which I've pretty much sent myself back into. But, seeing my team just kind of, Mike Evans was an absolute dog. Mikey 1K, as Spenny likes to call him. Absolutely carried my team for pretty much the entirety of the year, where it was Baker Mayfield and him just connecting for tuds basically week in and week out. But, it all came to a crashing end when I met Logan in the playoffs after beating you by 1 point. I'll go through here and just show kind of the scores of, what happened. And my team just absolutely fell apart. If you look at this right here, I just put it in Excel super quickly, Google Sheets to be exact. But, you look at the score, 108 to 156. And you look at like Dak Prescott, good week, to a mediocre week. But then all my dogs that got me through the entire year, Jordan Addison was catching a ball from Uber drivers, Jacoby Myers, playing for the Raiders, not to beat a dead horse, but you look at this team and it's just like, how did they make the playoffs? But then, 108, and then on the opposite end of the coin, Kyron Williams, just an absolute dog. I'd have to double check to see where Logan drafted him. But that's got to be an absolute league winner right there.
Absolutely. He was the league winner. He was him and Puka.
Yeah.
This year's I got just absolutely boned by both of them.
Yeah. And I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, it's pretty impressive to think about the fact that, Logan made a championship and his roster could still have Justin Herbert on it. What are your thoughts now on if you had to trade Justin Fields and Cam Akers to receive Justin Herbert? Would you do that?
Absolutely fucking not.
Yeah. Yeah. So, talk about being squared. My boy Ben absolutely selling it at the perfect time too. So,
I can't really shit. I can shit on Logan's team, but he won. So, now that trade for Fields is not looking very good, but who knows? Herbert, in my opinion, is the modern day Trevor Lawrence. So
interesting.
It's not like Justin Herbert is super appealing right now either, but
sure.
Who knows? Maybe in a year, Justin Fields could be as valuable as Justin Herbert if Herbert has another shit year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild to think about how Justin Herbert started his career because a dude punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung. It's that dude is always injured. So, shout out Logan, shout out Ben. Pretty wild to think about, all the trades that you've made along the way. So,
yeah.
is there anything else you'd like to maybe touch on? I guess, what are one of your kind of favorite moments as we kind of recap and close the yearbook on our first season? Anything coming to mind? I know there's a few that I have, but I'll kind of kick it to you first.
I mean, first and foremost, probably the league standing strong after a year, because I have been in those dynasty leagues where it massively fades out after playoffs start because guys just aren't that into it, whatever reason. If it's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. But at Maidenless, we have a league full of people who are super active for the most part.
Yeah.
Cammy Blunt, you suck. And yeah, I mean, everybody's active for the most part. I wouldn't even say they keep it family friendly because they don't, but for the most part, everyone, gets along for the most part. I feel that.
Oh yeah, there's some friendly banter to be had, but I mean, it's not a fantasy football league if there's no banter. So
right, yeah, banter is the best part. But I mean, my favorite memory. I feel like it's got to be me losing and being so butthurt that I didn't play Logan in the finals that I immediately shipped off Patrick fucking Mahomes.
Yeah, maybe, I'll kind of briefly touch on my favorite moment, and then maybe we can talk about your trade. I want to make sure we're not drawing this out to be 2 hours, but, kind of when I think about, setting the stage for the league, I think about how it began doing our startup draft and how it started off with your twin brother receiving a phone call at his office. Do you maybe mind kind of telling it from your perspective where obviously, kind of was Logan just starting a job and then kind of what happened, or do you mind kind of retelling that story for all of our viewers?
Yeah. He got a new job, new company. It's a pretty sweet company, pretty good company. And Jake Simonson, Logan's on the clock. He's taking forever like he always did.
Yeah. This was early in the draft. We were just itching to start picking players.
Yeah, this is very early on. The slow draft also happened out of nowhere, so people were very antsy. They're like, all right, it started. I might as well get through this. Logan is causing a goddamn roadblock with his mind. And Jake Simonson calls into Logan's office and speaks to a manager there and says, can you direct me to Logan Heim? I bought a policy off of him. And Logan's boss was like, who's this guy calling in saying that you sold him something you just started here a week ago? Logan was not happy.
When I think about, just absolute comedy, it's pretty, like, if I was in Logan's spot, I would definitely be upset. But when I think of just like the absolute hilarious thing, just kind of being a bystander, someone was like, yo, he's in meetings. And then someone put his phone number in the chat and they're like, yo, call him. And then next thing you know, someone actually called him. That's literally before the league even hardly began. We were already cracking stuff like that. So, that one was pretty hard to beat for me.
I'm surprised the league didn't fully collapse before week one even began.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's funny as hell.
So I know you mentioned it too, the Mahomes trade. Obviously, we'll save probably another episode just to trades, but kind of as you think about, year one's in the books, what do you think about, year two going forward? We'll recap your trades in another episode, but for those of you that are in the league, I'm sure you're all pretty familiar.
I would hope that you're familiar because I don't have an off switch, baby. I'm coming for the ring, Logan.
Literally does not.
I'm coming for that ring. I don't have any picks until 2026. Bend the knee, bitch. Kiss the ring.
Kiss the ring. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see.
I know. Just like I told you, I was like, I'm making all these trades. My team is looking so good just to get bounced in the first round by some no-name receiver who Logan or Chuck Poppy gets off of waivers.
Yeah, I know Logan in the championship started DeMarcus Robinson for the Rams, and he got 13 points. I'm just like, bro, what is going on right now? But
and I'm begging Jalen Waddle to play a snap.
I know. It's funny. It's
DeMarcus Robinson. Jesus. WR5 on the Rams.
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting. So I know I think we'll probably wrap it up there, honestly. I know that kind of sets the stage. I think our goal kind of going forward is what we'll do is we'll have, interviews with managers, kind of pick apart their team. We'll do the fancy calculators that people either swear by or absolutely hate to look at. How does your team rank on that? And then we'll kind of do some trade analysis, get your thoughts on the upcoming rookie draft season. We are officially less than 1 month away. So, I know some people are itching to get back into the first round. Some people have half the first round. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how this offseason shakes out. And we look forward to kind of kicking it with you guys the next episode.
See how it plays out, Cotton.